Now this one you've probably known was a myth for some time. I mean, come on, a little boy chopping down a cherry tree and telling the truth about it? There are also no sources to back up this claim. This myth originated from Washington's biographer Mason Locke Weems, who wanted to illustrate Washington's virtues. While European witch trials generally had witches burned at the stake, there were no such instances in the Salem witch trials. Of the 20 witches who were executed, 19 were hung and 1 died from pressing. The story of this last person is most interesting. His name was Giles Corey, and both he and his wife were being tried during the Salem witch trials. Giles refused to plead, so they stuck him between 2 boards and put weight on him. They continued to put weight on him, asking for his plea at intervals. During these intervals, Giles would respond with, "More weight!" Giles eventually died from the weight, 3 days before his wife, who was hung. The most commonly agreed upon answer for why Giles did this was that he believed both he and his wife would be found guilty during the trials, and that would mean that his daughter would not be able to inherit his land, thereby making her homeless after their deaths. This is not true in the slightest. Americans have fought one another from the very beginning, during the Revolutionary War. Loyalist Americans are actually the reason George Washington lost the Battle of Long Island. They led British and Hessian forces down an unknown path in the middle of the night to surprise Washington's army. During the American Revolution, 40 to 45% of the colonists supported the Americans, and around 15 to 20% supported the British. The remainder were neutral. And after the war, these loyalists didn't even stay in America to support the new government. Most of them fled to Canada. Any study of the ancient civilizations showed that the ancient Greeks discovered the world was spherical nearly 1,800 years before Columbus's journey. Nearly everyone in the world at the time of Columbus believed that the world was round. Columbus himself even held the false belief. He believed that the world was shaped like a pear, and that the distance to India from Spain would take half as long as it did. If the Americas weren't there, Columbus and his crew would have all died on the journey to India. Continuing on with Columbus, that's right, he didn't even discover the Americas. The mainland America was discovered by Leif Erikson nearly 500 years before Columbus, when he landed in mainland Canada. Erikson was converted to Christianity by King Olaf I in what is now modern-day Norway. Erikson set off as a merchant and explorer, but also to evangelize pagan nations. He was trying to reach Greenland when he was blown off course, and he ended up in modern-day Canada. He stayed there for a quarter to half a year before returning to Greenland and ascending to the throne there. Now I know what you're thinking. Alex, are you telling me 300 Spartans didn't hold off nearly 1 million Persian soldiers at the Battle of Thermopylae in a glorious last stand for 3 days straight? Yes, I am telling you that. Now, there were only 300 Spartans at the Battle of Thermopylae, but there were also 7,000 other assorted Greek soldiers. And on the Persian side, there were not 1 million soldiers, which would have been nigh impossible at the time period, but there were 100,000 soldiers under the command of King Xerxes. Now, this is still a considerable feat that 7,300 Greek soldiers held off nearly 100,000 Persian soldiers, outnumbered more than 10 to 1, at the Battle of Thermopylae for 3 days. The reason the Spartans get all the credit for this battle is that their king died in it, and they use this as a propaganda chip, and uplifted their glorious last stand at the Battle of Thermopylae. They were the ones who eventually skewed the numbers of the Persians. Gladiators didn't fight to the death. Gladiators were trained and hired soldiers who fought for the amusement of the crowd and whose managers got money based upon their amount of wins. It would be a horrible business strategy to let your investments, gladiators, die. Gladiators were actually much like modern sports stars, and even endorsed certain markets of fish, bread, etc. Do you think somebody could be so socially ignorant they would give cake to starving peasants? The myth goes as follows. Marie Antoinette, being so indifferent to the plight of the masses, that when starving peasants cried out to her for bread, and she had none, she said, "Let them eat cake." Now, this is not true, as it was previously ascribed to others that said, "Let them eat cake." And Marie Antoinette, although being the Queen of France and living a luxurious lifestyle, did recognize the plight of the masses and gave generous donations to charitable causes. On top of that, she had a great education and would have known better to not say something so provocative to a crowd of peasants, lest they uprise and overthrow her. This myth most likely originated from the Jacobins, the leader of the French Revolution. They most likely wanted to denigrate the reputation of the monarchy as much as they could. Now this one is partially true. Napoleon, by modern standards, is slightly below average height. But if you compare him to other people in 1800, he is slightly above average height. If you compare him to his fellow Frenchmen, this difference gets even more considerable. The origin for this myth is British propaganda that wanted to make their enemy look as weak as they could make him. Let's think about this for a moment. Albert Einstein, one of the modern world's greatest mathematicians and scientists, failing math. This does give some comfort to students who are failing math currently, but it's still not true. This originates from the fact that Albert Einstein went to school in Switzerland, who uses a 6-point grading system, with 6 being the best. Albert Einstein lived and was born in Germany, who also had a 6-point grading system, but with 1 being the best. Hey, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and comment down below. If you didn't like this video, please comment why you didn't like it. And that's Alex History.